This is Brian, ScreenFiles.com and Review. What I'm doing today is a first for this channel. I'm looking at two movies at the same time, 2014's Unfriended and 2018's Unfriended Dark Web. And these are they're not bad movies, they're not great movies either, and you probably would be better suited by watching 2013's The Den, which is similar to 2018's Unfriended Dark Web, but a much better movie. So let's begin. 2014's Unfriended revolves around a group of friends who are haunted by this online presence. It's very much in the vein of The Ring and things of that nature, in which the presence is righting a wrong. Of course, it goes without saying, it rights a wrong by murdering people, which is not quite the golden rule. These friends, I think there were maybe 5 of them, perhaps 6, and they had taken pictures of this girl who had shit herself, or should I say, shat herself, when she was drunk. And as a result, she killed herself. She's haunting this group of 5 people who had something to do with her death. This is ludicrous. But the thing is, and this is important, it's ludicrous within a certain universe. In this universe, the idea of the literal ghost in the machine is a plausible one. So that's not a ground for criticism in and of itself. That's the rules that this universe operates under. So I'm not too hard on that. I think it is ludicrous. I think it's well done, though it's a movie made literally out of computer screenshots and Skype calls. It's unusual. Again, The Den did it much better. But it's unusual, but it's interesting in terms of a supernatural drama. The juxtaposition of technology and ghosts on one hand has been done before, and better, I might add. But it's an interesting movie. Not by any means terrible, but also not like something you haven't seen before. It's a good diversion, in other words. But the 2018 sequel is, for me, the most interesting. I also think it's, in its way, more fantastical than the 2014 movie. Now keep in mind, I repeat, the 2014 movie has fucking ghosts haunting someone through a computer. And yet the 2018 movie is, in its way, even more outlandish. But it doesn't get the benefit of the doubt in the sense of existing in a world where such things are possible. The 2018 movie revolves around another group of 5 or 6 people, and there's no ghost, but it's this, I want to say cabal or criminal organization that finds out people online and tortures them and eventually kills them. And they're betting on the deaths of these people. This is actually very similar to The Den. But the thing is, what this movie does is so outlandish that it's just irritating, at least for me, to watch. And that thing is, if you look at the screenshots that appear in the movie, the users are using Apple computers. What's the point? Namely that I can't speak for PCs. I don't know a lot about them. I know a heck of a lot about Apples, though. And it is virtually impossible for someone to hack your computer from outside your home. It cannot, I want to say it cannot be done, but that implies impossibility, and nothing is a possibility. Though the odds of that are so unlikely to happen that it's almost fantastical. It's almost as possible as a ghost in your computer. Reason being, by way of illustration, I own a Mac computer, an iMac. Now, I don't operate my computer from an administrator account, operated from a standard account, which means anyone, let's say from outside, let's say hypothetically that were possible. It's not, but let's say hypothetically it were. The person would have to have access to my administrator password to do anything. I have to re-input it myself because I don't want anyone, even the off chance of anyone accessing my data. So therefore, the idea that someone could just dial in via terminal and start manipulating your computer, and then keep in mind, I have to repeat, the 2018 movie has no ghosts. It's just computer hacking, and it's ludicrous. Most computers come with a firewall. Mac's OS X is built with a firewall, so it filters incoming data. Now, the people in the movie seem very computer savvy, though not everyone knows that. Even some people who use Macs for years. It's not something they think about. But nonetheless, there are at least 1 to 2 of these friends that seem to be really savvy with computers. And there's no way that that can happen. It's literally fantasy land. It's been proven. A modern Macintosh, the only way it can be hacked is if someone has access to the physical computer itself. You're not going to dial in and do that. Or, if it were even possible, and I don't think it is, if it's even possible at all, you would have to have such a weakened system that it just doesn't make sense. No security updates. Your firewall is off. You're letting literally anyone in who wants to get in. Then maybe, that's unlikely, but maybe. It's just ridiculous. And there's another scene, I'm sorry, and I'm going on about computers, because it's important. And the whole episode is centered around it. What starts the action moving is one of the group finds a computer, and they guessed a password. The person had a login as a question mark. Now that was obviously intended, because you have to see the movie, but trust me, they wanted people to access the computer. Though conversely, if that were the case, you probably wouldn't use any password at all. Nothing. But the entire hard drive, or I want to say at least 90% of the hard drive was filled with images. This is also ridiculous. Why is that ridiculous, you might ask? Because computers don't work that way. They have to write to the hard disk or SSD to do things, to process information. They have to keep going back and forth to the SSD or hard drive. So the idea that that much space is taken up, that computer would literally be slowed to a crawl. It would barely function. You need free space on a computer for it to work at all properly. And this computer had virtually none. It is ridiculous. But being that a lot of people probably don't know that, the screenwriter could just pretty much say anything he wants, and that would be fine. It's this fanciful conception of what computers can or can't do that ruins Unfriended Dark Web. It's not a bad movie. It's visually very much in the vein of the first movie, minus the whole dark cabal killing people. And it's generally not a bad movie. The Din is much better. 2013 came out before Unfriended, much better movie. But it's like, it's still a fantasy. It aims for realism, and that's its biggest problem. With Unfriended, you knew right off the bat, this is ridiculous, and you can go with it. Haunted computers don't exist. But what makes Unfriended Dark Web not work particularly well is that it works on the basis of what you're seeing is for the most part real. And it's not. As I've already described, much of it is just as fanciful as a ghost in your computer. It's frankly a little bit silly. And while I understand the filmmakers likely felt the need to tweak the source material to make it something slightly different than what came before, to do it in this fashion is just not a great thing As I said, check out 2013's The Den. It follows a similar plot line as 2018's Unfriended Dark Web, but it's a much better movie and not nearly as implausible. Oh yes, I should mention, by the way, no one can take control of your computer without you granting them access. In this movie, you'll notice, and I believe it might have happened in The Den as well, I haven't seen that in a while, but the idea that someone can access your computer without your permission to do so is ludicrous. Now, there have been things in the news about cameras being turned on and such. That's kind of iffy and requires more information, though I guess it all depends on the permissions required to do it. If it requires, let's say, an administrator, I can only use my own computer as an example. If, let's say, it requires the permissions of an administrator, they could not do that. Now, if it's something that through a software hack makes it possible, it might be able to happen. If it's something that can happen due to a weakness in a bit of software, that's possible. In any case, Unfriended Dark Web is the weaker of the two and is so fantastical, if Harry Potter showed up, I wouldn't be shocked. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Peace. And if you like what I'm doing here, please consider a like or a follow, and check out The Den. It's really good.